of America,
pledge allegiance,
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
Yep.
indivisible,
All right.
liberty and
liberty
justice for
and
all.
justice
Yep.
for all.
Thank you.
We weren't at the Super Bowl. We did all right.
Indivisible, liberty, justice for all. All right. Do we have any public comments? Okay, no public comment.
President Reynolds, your internet
Let's
is
go on
breaking
to
out.
our first item.
Okay,
Mary, this looks like this is you.
yes, this is mine. So the first item is to authorize entering into a professional services agreement with Baxter, McCarley, Berry and Company to provide municipal advisory.
Mary, are you there?
Yes.
I can hear her perfectly well, so maybe.
I can hear her.
Okay. Mary, you want to take,
Okay. Okay, so we are.
Hey, Glenn, you're frozen, sort of. Yeah.
Yeah, you're frozen.
Real frozen. Sounds like you're.
Yeah, I think it's President Reynolds' internet connection.
I can hear Mary.
Okay, I'll
Okay.
go forward. Okay, so
I
we're.
can't see it all. You're.
Okay, I can hear Mary. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. We can
Okay.
hear you.
Well,
Oh,
if you,
Yeah.
And let's say we have Director Coverdale joining us. Oh, you made it.
Can't hear you, Ken.
Okay,
Got an audio.
Oh, you wanted to
Ken.
hear my voice.
There you go. Okay.
Good
You got
morning.
Hey.
good morning,
All right.
Ken. How are you?
Well, let's see, the roof's leaking, the electrical's broken, the internet's down, the creek's coming up. I don't know. I just think it's another wonderful day at Christmas. How are you doing?
So we're getting rain, I guess. That's what they call
We're
it.
getting hail right now. Hail.
Really?
Major hail.
Yeah, the office at work is flooded.
Okay, we got a meeting here, guys.
Hell. No kidding. Wow.
Hey, Chris, are you getting buried up there or are you down here?
No.
All right,
you know,
Mary was going to lead us.
I'm down
Mary
here.
was going to lead us on authorizing into a professional service agreement with Backstrom McCarley.
okay. So we are now fully underway with the Nunez Water Treatment Improvement Project. And this $9 million project will take approximately 2 years to complete. And we have other capital improvement projects on the horizon as well. So we discussed in the summer that we would, the need to go out and obtain financing. And now it's time. We want to move forward. So in order to go out and solicit bids for financing, whether it be a loan or a bond issue, the district needs to appoint a financial municipal advisor to assist us. And so in 2018, the district worked with Baxter, McCarley, Berry and Company to refund the 2006 bond issue. And that financing effort saved the district $700,000 in interest. So working with Backstrom was really, really easy, and they handled everything, and they're very professional and a great group to work with. I expected to have Brant Smith on today, but I'm assuming he may have had some internet issues as well. But the finance committee met with Brant Smith from Backstrom in November, and he walked through a PowerPoint, which I have in the board package. But what we would like to do is we would like to appoint Backstrom and utilize Grant Smith's services with basically it's a $30,000 professional services agreement. However, we don't pay that unless we are successful in getting financing. So it's so it's it's a good it's good for us. And again, we're excited about being able to work with them again. Right now, in the presentation, he used $6 million in financing, which we had looked at last summer. We're going to evaluate how much we need. I would like to potentially look at our modeling again and understand what we need to do. But this is a starting point for us with appointing Backstrom. So with that, staff recommends appointing Backstrom, McCarley, Berry and Company. Any questions? Bob?
No, it's just not a question. I just want to reinforce Mary's comments regarding the Finance Committee. We met and discussed this with Mary Ann, the gentleman from your organization, and we're very positive about everything and agree that they've done good work in the past. We look forward to them doing good work in the future. So we recommend that you approve this. I'm speaking for Ken as well. Ken, please.
Yes, I attended the same meeting, and we were very impressed with his capability, his interest in helping us gain the financing. We talked about, what's enough going forward. And so I think it's really important for the capital improvement group to really analyze the kinds of projects because we have some fairly substantial projects in terms of dollars. And so we would look for guidance that I think he can get us cheap money and we need it unless we come up with some grant funding. I think would be really exciting too. So I would urge, like Bob, I would laminate. Bob said that we think he's the person or that's the right group to work with.
Yep.
That sounds good. John, go ahead.
Yeah, just a brief comment before.
Go ahead, John.
Make the motion. And we have a little note here every time we get into these tough situations, and it says, it doesn't cost, it pays to look at new things like this, but it looks like we've already done that. So I would recommend to make a motion, if it's the proper time, to authorize the general managers to enter into a professional service agreement with Backstrom, McCarley, Berry and Company, LLC, to provide municipal advisory services for a 2022 tax-exempt financing transaction in the amount of $30,000 with payment contingent on the successful closing of the finance.
All right, so we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Okay, motion a second. Roll call, please, Denise.
Director Coverdale,
Yes.
Director Muller,
Yes.
Director Michelson,
Yes.
Vice President Feldman,
Yes.
President Reynolds.
Yes. All right. Very good, thank you. Mary's up next with the consider and reaffirm resolution 21-06, making findings pursuant to Assembly Bill 361 that the proclaimed state of emergency continues to impact the ability to meet safely in person And as many of you know, I do follow the COVID, and I'm sorry to say Omicron variant is running rampant. Just this morning, I heard of 2 offices that are closed because everyone there has COVID. And as the team knows, the Omicron is fairly punches through two shots of vaccine fairly well. Mary, you want to lead this one?
Yes. So, basically,
Mary, you gonna go ahead with this?
Yes. Yes. Can you hear me?
Can anybody hear me at all?
Yes.
I can hear you, Glenn.
We can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So, as we mentioned in September 2021, Governor Newsom signed the Assembly Bill 361, which allows legislative bodies to continue to meet remotely during a proclaimed state of emergency. We enacted and adopted resolution 2021-06, enabling CCWD board to consider to continue to meet remotely. So this resolution has to be reaffirmed monthly. So with that, I would recommend that the board reaffirm based on, particularly what President Reynolds mentioned about the Omicron variant. So
I move we approve the reaffirmation of resolution 2021-06. You want me to read the whole thing?
I don't.
I'll second it.
Second it. Yeah. Okay. I guess we have to have a vote on this one. Do we need a vote on this, Pat, or can we just all say aye?
No, need a roll call vote anytime we do a remote meeting, teleconference meeting.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
All right, let's go ahead and have a vote. Denise.
Director Muller.
We do.
Aye.
Okay. All right. Roll call, please. Thank you.
Director Coverdale.
Yes.
Director Michelson.
Yes.
Vice President Feldman.
Yes.
President Reynolds.
Yes. You got me.
I think he's frozen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
It's too bad.
Our next topic. Am I frozen again? Yikes. All right. Our next one is the authorized entering a professional service agreement with the redistricting partners, service adjusting. Oh, we're back to the zoning maps, election zoning maps.
Right.
All right, Mary, that's you.
Okay, well, in 2020, the district changed its electoral system from at-large elections to zoning
Guys,
elections.
if I'm continuing to freeze, do you want to have Bob take this over?
Yeah. It's getting to be too much.
Which?
Bob, you're in charge.
Okay,
What happened? Oh,
You're in charge.
he's off. Okay,
Glenn's
so
connection is
we
miserable.
need to update or re-look at that districting map that they did for us again, because we had an election and changed the way that redistricting. I mean, they had a project that changed the district boundaries, and we have to see if that affects how our constituents need to vote for members of WIC. So, Mary, you want to discuss that? I don't think really, again, it's a big deal. It's not brain science here, because we have no choice if we're going to have that district allocation built into our election process. So without further ado, I think we should just go for it and do this. They did a good job last time. I'm sure they'll do it this time, and we need to do it. So let's go for it.
Yeah, let me just say, this is a different group that we're using, because the group that we used 2 years ago, they didn't have time. They weren't able.
Okay, so I'm sorry.
But it is something where they did a preliminary analysis and saw that there are more than 10%. There's more than 10% variation in 3 of the zones. So that's why we will need to take a look at this again, and we will end up needing to have 2 public meetings once, with going through the mapping.
Would like to recommend that we authorize entering into a professional services agreement with Redistricting Partners, LLC, for redistricting services to adjust the mapping of electoral zones based upon the 2020 census data.
That's the first. Oh, John, do you have a second?
I will second it. And just a very brief comment, if I may, at this point. I don't believe, I know it's a little after the fact of the motion, but I don't believe there's been that large of an increase in population. If it's 10%, it's typical situation where we're spending more money that really, in my opinion, didn't need to be reviewed, but we have to do it according to the law.
Yeah, if I could just answer that.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
it's part of it's the variation between where people are living. I think in total, the population really hasn't increased that much, but it's how it's distributed, and so.
Thank you.
Yeah, and to add on to what John said, I think this puts us well over $100,000 in expenses towards this districting effort, and divided by our 6,000 plus customers. This nuisance lawsuit has reached into each and every one of our customers' pocketbooks for, to the tune of, $15, $20. And if the public is paying attention, I just want them to know this is what happens. Thanks.
Mary, the work done by the prior organization for the 2016.
Right. Go ahead, Bob.
Does that get to be available to these new guys, or did they start from scratch given the data? I'm just trying to understand, is it a whole new data collection process, or you know what I mean? And do they work off the stuff that was done previously? And number 2, we have 5 districts and we know what the boundaries are, and these guys will review that and see if the changes of the locations of our customers will make any difference to the way that the boundaries are found, correct?
Oh, first of all, technically they have the same boundaries, and they have a data set they work with, a census data set they're working with. So it is, it may, I'm not sure if they have the exact same data set that they'll be, but it should be census data by tract, by housing tract, or by parcel. And then they will, they first start off looking at the boundaries as they exist and figuring out the population and the diversity within that population. And they'll present that information, and it's likely they're going to have to redraw the boundaries a little bit.
Okay. Other comments, questions? Do I hear
Let's
a
go to a
motion?
roll call. Yeah, we already had a motion,
Okay,
and we had a second.
Can you do the roll call, please? Thank you.
Director Muller,
Aye.
Director Coverdale,
Aye.
Director Michelson,
Yes.
Vice President Feldman,
Yes.
President Reynolds.
Glenn, are you able to hear?
Yes, aye.
Okay.
What, could I interrupt the
All
meeting?
right, thank you very much.
Could I interrupt the meeting for just a second,
Yeah,
please?
I can hear you fine.
I apologize for the late connection.
Yeah, go ahead, Ken.
And I wondered if it would
Yeah,
be
go ahead.
possible to consider item D at the end of the meeting. And the reason I would request that is that it impacts the real value of my property. So I need to recuse myself from the discussion, voting on the item. And I wondered, I'm sorry I wasn't here early enough to ask for it to move in the agenda, but I wondered if it could move to the end of the agenda. Otherwise, I would ask your permission to leave the meeting right now and not come back. So that's up to the board.
I think legal counsel needs to address that because you're within 100 feet of the project, correct?
Right.
Sure, I'm happy to address this. So,
No, I like your idea to move this to the end and no, it's no. Go ahead.
President Reynolds, you might want to call into the meeting.
Go ahead, Pat.
Yeah. It's really.
I think you're getting a delay
Yeah.
that none of the rest of us are getting. And if you call in, you might avoid that delay. Oh my gosh, I hope I didn't offend him. He just left.
That's a major delay, Patrick. He'll be back tomorrow.
Patrick, does Ken's proximity to the work require that he leave the meeting or recuse himself from discussing the item?
Yeah, so I had a heads up on this, and my understanding is that Director Coverdale's property is within 500 feet of the project. There's been some changes in the conflict of interest laws. There's a presumption that he has a material financial interest because of the proximity of the project to his location. So Director Coverdale is exactly right. He should leave the meeting. He should recuse himself and leave the meeting. And it is entirely appropriate for the board, if it so chooses, to move item D to the very end of the meeting right before adjournment so that Director Coverdale does not have to leave the meeting and then leave it permanently or leave the meeting and come back. Other opportunities are to send him into a breakout room and bring him back if you have the capabilities. But so that's a decision for the board to make. But there are a variety of options to address this.
Well, I'm happy if you need a motion to move it, item D, to the end of the meeting, the last item. I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Okay.
That's appropriate.
Do we have a voice vote on that?
Yes.
Denise, you want to call the roll? All right.
President Reynolds,
He's not.
is he with us? Or he's not? Second. Vice President Feldman,
Yes.
Director Michelson,
Yes.
Director Coverdale,
You can't vote on that. John.
Director Mueller.
Yes, and that is a motion to move item D to the conclusion of the board meeting.
So we have a quorum for that. So we can go forward and do that.
Yeah, so that was approved.
Thank
Three
you.
with one abstention and one absent. President Reynolds is trying to connect back in, I think.
Thank you.
Okay. So pending the fact that President Reynolds is still not available, we will go to item E.
Okay.
Okay, Mary, consider resolution authorizing the grant application acceptance and execution for the Coastside County Water District Drought Resiliency Program.
So in late October, the California Department of Water Resources made available $190 million for drought relief grants under the 2021 Urban and Multi-Benefit Drought Relief Program. And so EKI, Environment and Water staff have been leading an effort among BOSCA agencies to prepare and submit grant applications, primarily focusing in on groundwater projects. So our staff is working with John Sutter and Anona Dutton from EKI, and also Bob Schultz, who's helping us to prepare a high-level application that we have to submit by Friday. Part of this application is that we need to have this resolution approved by the board, which basically gives us the board's approval to submit the application, potentially accept and execute a grant. Right now, we still have a lot of options, even if they decide to give us a grant. We were still in kind of design mode of what we would do, but what we're going to submit is a grant that focuses in on the replacement of the Denniston wells, the replacement of the upper Pelositos wells. Even though there's surface water, they still provide us with relieving the regional water system. And then we're also submitting an application for developing a test well and doing the studies of the impact to the creeks on lower Pelositos. Just in terms of our wells, particularly after our meeting in October, we decided to really look at what can we do with the wells. Our wells are over, are many years old, almost 50 years old. And so this would be really a worthwhile project for us to get these replaced. And we asked the board to approve this resolution so we can move forward with the grant application.
Do you have any comments or questions from Mary on this proposal?
Yeah, after discussing alternative sources of water, this clearly is the least resistant path to introducing more water into our system. So I think this is a great idea to take advantage of potential grant funding out there. So the fact that they can do this in such a compressed time frame is really awesome. So I absolutely encourage we move forward with this.
Any other comments? Again, this is a sort of a no-brainer. We got to go for this and see what we can deliver from that potential grant. Okay, someone will make a motion.
I will so move to approve resolution 2021-09, authorizing the grant application acceptance and execution with the California Department of Water Resources for Drought Resiliency Program.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Hearing the motion and a second, I'll ask Denise to take the roll.
Director Coverdale,
Yes.
Director Muller,
Aye.
Director Michelson,
Yes.
Vice President Feldman,
Yes.
and President Reynolds is still absent.
Okay, motion is accepted and approved. So we'll go to item F. Consider resolution authorizing 2021-10, adopting the adoption of the San Mateo County multi-jurisdictional local hazard mitigation plan. That's a mouthful, I'll say that. Even the acronym is a mouthful, MJLHMP. Unbelievable. Go ahead, Mary, sorry.
Okay. Well, I did mention this plan in the summer because our staff had been working on the preparation of the plan. But basically we started, so San Mateo County has to prepare this local hazard mitigation plan every 5 years. And what they do is they get all, they invite cities and then special districts to submit what they call an annex into the plan. This will allow us to get FEMA money and assistance in the course of an emergency. So during the, during the spring, staff participated in many workshops and helped prepare our section. So this, in terms of this resolution, what you're approving, every agency has to approve the plan. So basically you're approving the overall San Mateo plan, plus you're approving our section of the plan, which is the our annex with the information. And, basically we're, saying that we're, that we would, abide by that we would, in the plan, we're adopting it, and we'll use the adopted and approved portions to guide our pre and post disaster mitigation activities.
Thank you. Thanks for the summary, Mary. Comments, questions for Mary from the board? Okay, well, my only comment regarding this is my understanding better of the work that has been done by Mary and staff to create our portion of this plan, which was included in this submittal, in this item. On the back of the item is quite a considerable effort made by staff to fill out and do all the work necessary to begin the process for doing this. And I want to commend Mary and staff on doing the hard lifting for this thing. This was not a walk in the park as I read through this thing. I learned a lot about everything from it, and I appreciate the staff efforts sort of on a quiet back burner, without letting us know what was going on. It's amazing. So good luck on that. And I appreciate the efforts of the staff. And with that, I'm going to ask Denise to call the roll, please. I need a motion.
I'd like to move we approve.
Sorry about that.
I'd like to move that we approve this.
Please.
And the item, I can read it out if you'd like. Consideration of resolution, I'd like to, we accept resolution 2021-10, authorizing the adoption of the San Mateo County multi-jurisdictional local hazard mitigation plan.
Thank you, and I'll second that.
Okay, now we'll call for vote.
Director Mueller,
Aye.
Director Coverdale,
Yes.
Director Michelson,
Yes.
Vice President Feldman.
Yes. Glenn's back, but I'm not sure. He's on audio, but I'm not sure he's still connected.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah. We're taking a vote on item E, I believe.
Or F.
Yeah.
Item F.
Item F. We're pretty well finished with the roll call vote, and I'm not sure, given that you weren't involved, that you can vote, but everybody was in favor. It looks like a good deal, Glenn, and if you've read it and looked through the process, I guess it's allowable to vote. Is that correct, Pat?
Yeah, if President Reynolds is back, and if he's read the staff report and is comfortable voting, he can do that. He can also abstain if he prefers, whatever, it's up to him.
I'll vote yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, the motion's been approved, and we'll go to item G, which is James Durbin's update of Nunez water treatment plant.
Thank you. Good morning, board members. This is the fourth update on the Nunez upgrade project. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you terrifically.
Okay, good.
Sorry, my sound is very erratic.
Okay. We're 4 months into the project. We're very pleased with the progress and cooperation we've had from Ranger. Fry and Loretta have been doing a fantastic job with managing this project or doing the CM on it, and HDR has provided very good technical support on the plans. If you go to attachment A, this is an update from the Fry and Loretta team, basically on the metrics, how many days we are in, how many approved change order days approved, and I'm happy to say there is 0% change orders approved at this point. We might have some minor things that we've asked to add to the project rather than unforeseen conditions. No big ticket items just yet. So we're tracking very well financially on this project. Next slide on progress. They basically built the SED basin, the big giant concrete box that many of you have probably seen in the pictures. And at the end of this slides, you'll see pictures of it. We did a 3-day soak test. And once it passed the soak test and the concrete break came back good, they're starting to backfill behind the SED basin. And they're pouring, I think they poured a couple of the basically foundations there. You can see in the pictures that's going to support, you go to the pictures, that cantilevered support is going to basically hold the influent channel going into the SED basin. Sean and staff were really creative. When we did the soak test, we read the contract, there's 60,000 gallons of water in that tank. And Sean figured out and Todd figured out a way that we could just recycle that water rather than dump it. So it went back down to basically the sledge drying basin, and we pumped it back into the plant. So the only water it was lost was due to evaporation. And it was interesting when they did the soak test, they had to set up an instrument to measure for evaporation to make sure that they were accounting for evaporative processes as well as any leakage or soaking into the concrete. So we're tracking very well. They are going to be working in the next few months on prepping the caustic area, doing some concrete and conduit and electrical, installing the new treated water line inside the facility, and basically pouring the rest of the concrete that's going to support the pipes going in and out of the SED basin, and some backfilling. I can't see anything else to add to this. If you guys have any questions, I'm happy to answer, and we can send out some more of those construction video updates that we've been tracking throughout the project. Any questions?
Oh, very good job.
I had a question, James.
Certainly.
How much does the rain impact? Are there erosion conditions up there? Are you concerned about runoff? Or, I just remember years ago, the concern about its location of the project above 92. Just wondered how that looked to you.
Yeah, it's an excellent question. The BMPs for stormwater that the Rangers put out have been working quite well. It gets a little muddy in terms of walking around in boots, but it's carved into old sandstone. So the ground there's very hard. If anything, it's just, it gets a little messy for the guys working in terms of the sloppiness of some of the silt around, but it's not I'm not concerned about anything sliding or any runoff that's, going to get us in any hot water.
Excellent. Thank you, James.
You're welcome.
All right. Bob, you want to do our next topic? You want me to? All right. Our next one is Mary, the State Water Resources Control Board Drinking Water Arrearages Fund.
Sorry.
Okay. We, so I just want to give you an update that we actually got notified that we received, will be receiving a grant of around $29,000. Staff submitted an application for past due accounts in October, and we received word that we will get the money. And so what we'll do is we'll be crediting our customer accounts. We have roughly about 50 accounts that will get credits for unpaid bills that accrued between the period of March 2020 and May 2021. So that this is a great thing for some of our customers who had a lot of issues during our, this rough COVID period. So.
Thank you very much for applying for that grant, and my thanks to the staff for doing that and making sure that our constituents were protected or served through the government. That's great. Thank you.
For purposes of the recording, we are on 5A, which is the general manager's report, and this is one of the items that is included in the written general manager's report, just so we're clear on the record. Thanks. Sorry to interrupt.
Thank you, Pat.
Thank you.
I also wanted to note that we have updated our website. So if you haven't looked at it yet, take a look, and we're getting lots of compliments. It's kind of modernized, and I thank you to Denise and Gina and our webmaster Robin who put this together. Also to Kathleen as well for all her input. So we're excited about our new look. We are going to be incorporating in a 75th logo at some point as we are coming up on our 75th year. So.
Excellent. Thank you. All right. Our next one, we have James with our operational highlights, monthly highlights.
Okay, recent updates. Denniston was running at 400, but like I mentioned earlier before a few people joined, it shut down last night due to the rainfall. I just checked the rain gauges. Denniston's gotten 3 inches of rain in the last 24 hours. Nuna's gotten 3.6 inches. And we're due for another 1.5 inches in the next 24 hours. Great for water supply. Hopefully people around the burn areas and other slides aren't happening. Pillarcitos wells, we're running at 265 last week. Once I get a report from operations, I'm sure they're going to be able to turn that up depending on demand. Staff was very prepared for the storm. Todd Schmidt, I commend his efforts. He had the Cahill tanks topped off before the power went off at CSP, which has been restored. And also the Half Moon Bay tanks were about as full as you can get them. So he really planned for this rainfall event, and it makes us all sleep better at night. Well 3A has been cleaned and rehabilitated in the Pillarcitos Canyon. We had a couple of problems with wells 3 and 5. Those have received new pumps and tubes. I wanted to thank Director Reynolds for his tip on this flexible bore line pipe that we can deploy and retrieve in-house. We don't need to hire an outside contractor to do this. Monster truck is a great asset to us in that aspect, and we save thousands of dollars every time we pull or reinstall a pump. So Glenn, thank you so much for the bore line tip. It's a great product. Denniston Raw, go ahead. Denniston Raw Water Pump number 2, the motor's been pulled for a rewind and a refurbish. Not surprised we had to do that with pump 1 a couple years ago. And once we have that back in and the rain settled down, should be in the next week or so, we can run up above 600 gallons per minute at Denniston. So we're looking forward to that. Nuna's backwash pump number 2, we had an auto transformer failure. We had Koffler Electric come out. They've been providing excellent service, and they're going to be putting in a modern soft start rather than trying to find some old legacy parts for the cabinet. And that'll be happening this week. Last month's source of supply, Crystal Springs, Pillarcitos Wells, Denniston Reservoir and Wells. We're barely sipping off Crystal Springs right now. We're looking forward to the Pillarcitos Reservoir spilling over the spillway, and hopefully that will happen after this, the remainder of the storm. Project update, Cal OES PSPS grant for the increased fuel storage at Nunez is looking to be on track for installation in January. They were pretty thorough with all their permitting and ran into a couple of snags, but I guess Louisiana had some flooding. Our tank is done. They just couldn't get to the factory where it was built, but I believe it's on its way out here now. let's see. And then again, that work's only going to take a week. I was talking to the contractor. He thought it was kind of made a joke. It takes 9 months to prepare for 7 days of work, or 3 months to prepare rather. But anyways, Nunes Water Treatment Plant Improvement Project update. We just did that. EKI, Grandview Highway 1 crossing design is 100% complete. Caltrans encroachment permit has arrived and working on the encroachment permit with the city of Half Moon Bay. We'll be meeting with their staff next week, or this week rather, next week, sorry. Pilarcitos Crossing design complete. Coastal development permit goes to the Planning Commission tomorrow night. We're anxiously awaiting that. It looks like everyone's in support of the project.
Okay.
Miramontes Point Road design is due to be complete in early 2022. And the Half Moon Bay tank replacement project, staff has started to review the 30% basis of design report, and things are looking on track with that project as well. And at that, I'm available for any questions.
So,
go ahead. Go ahead.
Sorry to jump in. So doing a little simple math here, by the end of December, we will have exceeded by a long shot last year's entire rain total. So little optimism here. This is, I mean, especially as a Bosque representative, I mean, we need as much as we can, and snowpack is going to dramatically impact the situation in the Sierras relative to Hetchy storage, relative to the water bank. So this is all great news. We're on a great track. Thanks.
John, go ahead. Go ahead, John.
Thank you. I'd just like to inform them, we just looked here, and in the last 20 hours here in downtown Half Moon Bay, we're probably pushing 6 inches of rain here. Pilarcitos is flooding and Arroyo Leon is flooding, and I did send a very quick picture to Mary if anyone's interested to see what's happening in our fields.
Excellent. Thank you. Go ahead, Bob.
Well, enthusiastic and really thankful for the rain that we're experiencing right now, and the numbers that will be accumulating between now and the end of the month. I'm still motivated and determined to move forward on all the programs that we have established, water conservation and drought rate strategy and approval, that we continue along those lines, notwithstanding what we're seeing, because I'm not sure that we're through, the crisis yet, and think we need to continue to move forward on all the programs that are underway. That would be my feeling at this point, although I'm really happy and enthusiastic about what we're seeing, but that doesn't necessarily solve the long-term problem. And we won't know that for some time yet. So we should need to go full speed ahead on what we've done thus far and plan to do. Thank you.
Go ahead.
I had a quick comment. I just wanted to wish everybody a Merry Christmas. Tell the staff how much we appreciate hard work. It's great to have a little water in the bucket. And I can't wait to go up and see what the other water is looking like. I wanted to thank you all for tolerating the change to the agenda. And I'm going to leave the meeting. Have a wonderful holiday season and Christmas. I guess I'll see you for a couple minutes tomorrow night, but thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah. Quick comment here, if I may, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, go ahead, John.
The Vice Chair just...
Take care.
Yeah. Thanks, Keith.
Stay safe.
The Vice Chair just mentioned it, and I mentioned it to staff about the water rate schedule, wonderful flyer that information was sent out. There's been some confusion over it, and a couple of people have pressed me about, and then there was comments made on whatever the gossip channel is regarding if you use more water, you paid less or some baloney. So maybe staff would just make a brief comment on that. Sorry to bring that up.
If I may, we're going to have a discussion on that tomorrow at the board meeting tomorrow. It's on the agenda.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't get that far.
All right. James, I wanted to follow up with a comment on the motor rewind. I've had huge value from putting in temperature sensors when I rewind a motor. I put one on each bearing and I put one in the winding. And then I can monitor the real time temperature of the motor. And typically those sensors cost about $50 each at the time of the rewind. And so if it's a $6,000 or $7,000 rewind, it's a huge benefit if you haven't already thought of that.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate the input. We have some motors that have that. I believe the raw water pumps do not have heat sensors in them, but I'll check and get back to you.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you for the report. And then I believe our next item was the 2-inch water line replacement. And just as a point of reference for the public, there are standards for minimum size water mains that have changed over the years. And I'm very proud that the Coastside Water District has been aggressively replacing and repairing water mains that are substandard and old and beat. So that's what our next agenda is. All right, who's leading this one? Is this Mary or James? This was James, wasn't it?
Yes.
Thank you, Director Reynolds. This is one of the last pieces of, this is the last piece of 2-inch galvanized pipe that we know of in the system.
Hallelujah.
Back in 2017, when I first arrived at the district, you guys did a bunch of 2-inch galvanized replacement downtown, and it's really benefited the staff. This galvanized pipeline is probably older than me, 60, 70 years old. It is so shallow that you cannot put a repair clamp on it without turning the bolts so they don't stick out of the ground. And when we dig it up, we found that the whole pipe is kind of wet. It's like sweating in a million different places. So after we've been out there pretty much once or twice a year to throw a clamp on it, sometimes you go to put a clamp on it and you got to move clamps to make room for your clamp, which is a bad sign. The neighbors have asked, what are you guys doing out here? We were planning on doing this work back in, not out until 2027. It keeps leaking. It is leaking in many spots. It's time to replace it. There's a hedgerow of mature cypress trees along the southern side of the road. So the neighbors have expressed concern about if we trench down there and put a bigger pipe in, that we could end up killing these trees. So we are looking at doing horizontal directional drilling, much like we did on the 2-inch south pipeline. So you would go from one end to the other just in pits with pits for reconnecting the services to minimize the damage and impact the road and the trees there. Granted, we're in a hurry. This is an emergency. We are asking that you will determine the waiving the competitive bidding requirements of Resolution 2016-9 and the contracting on a sole source basis with Andrini Brothers to replace 690 feet of 2-inch galvanized water main along Purissima Way is in the best interest of the district. And we're also asking for you to authorize the general manager to contract with Andrini for $101,630. EKI did the design and the specs, and their engineer's estimate was 94. So it's a pretty close call there. Andrini's been nice enough to come out and offer us a bid and give us a reasonable price. And part of the reason that we cannot upsize also is 3 of these connections are outside of the service area, much like what we had to deal with on the 2-inch south. So we cannot increase service to any of those customers. So we're voting, and we have modeled with EKI that the 2-inch will serve these connections just fine, and probably much better than the galvanized pipe that's out there now.
Yeah. And
any questions, let me know.
I'd like to add 2 comments for the rest of the board. I did go out and look at this site, and there are 2 things I wanted the rest of the board to know. One is that HDPE pipe is the most tree root friendly in that it's a malleable pipe, so that if the tree roots do grow back near it, they're very unlikely to break it because the pipe just moves or deforms. It doesn't fracture like some of our more brittle pipes materials. And then the second is Andrini Construction's bid comes in at under $100 a foot. And in the Bay Area, the standard price, the engineer's budget estimate for a pipe, admittedly larger in diameter, but that runs close to $400 per foot. So this is, I would agree with James's assessment. This is a very fair price for this project. Are there any questions from any of the rest of the staff team? Sorry. All right. Go ahead, Bob.
It's 629 feet, right? It's just,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
And the total price, 100,000 approximately.
Well, it's 100, it's, yeah.
101.
Yep.
So it's a little less. There was a comment that it was planned for 2027. We're going to do it sooner, obviously, because it's an emergency. And then there was funding in the 2021 capital budget for it. If we haven't planned for 2027, how do we have money in this year's budget? Or do we just have money enough in the budget to handle?
Well, we had 125,000 budgeted in 2027, but it is something where we can absorb it within our CIP right now.
Sure. In other words, we can handle it in the 2021 budget. It's budgeted for 2027. Okay, I'm fine. It was just a technical question. Okay, no, I'm fine. Sounds good.
Well, and I thank staff for moving forward because I'm sure most of us know, but the vice chair of the Regional Water Quality Control Board is on that line. So with leakage, I think it's a big move. We're do this properly as soon as possible. Thank you.
All right. Any other director comments? We ready to go for a roll call on it?
The motion.
Oh, we need a motion to approve this. Sorry, my apologies. Can we get a motion to approve this?
I'll make a motion to waive the procedural requirements in the district's policies and procedures for award of contracts and authorize the general manager to enter into an agreement with Andrini Brothers Incorporated for the 2-inch emergency pipeline replacement at Percival Way and good riddance galvanized pipe. Awesome. Thanks.
It is pretty exciting to have this be our last piece of known galvanized 2-inch because that's really been the bane of our existence. I would really congratulate the staff for working so diligently to identify it and exercise it out of our system. So thank you. Bob, you had a second perhaps? Okay, thank you. Denise, can you give us a roll call, please? And try and time it when Chris's mouth isn't full.
You got me.
Director Muller.
Aye.
Director Coverdale. Oh, he's not here.
Oh,
sorry.
No, he's gone.
Yep. Got it. Director Michelson.
Yes.
Vice President Feldman.
Yes.
President Reynolds.
Yes. All right. Thank you. All right. The good news is I'm going to just double circle back. Can everybody hear me okay on this device?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
All right. This is the third device that I've tried today. Where I am, I have excellent internet connection, but the devices seem to be failing. So this one seems to be working. So I'll use this tomorrow night as well. Do we have anything else for today? Does anybody want anything added? Well, I guess we'll do that tomorrow's meeting. We'd ask where directors have suggestions for the future, but okay. Anything else we need today?
No.
All right.
Thank you.
Then thank you. And we'll close this special meeting for today. And we'll see you all tomorrow for our regular meeting, hopefully with better internet. Apologize for the bad connections. And we'll see you tomorrow. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Stay safe. Be good.
Bye.